Because what I've been thinking all these years is, you know what my wardrobe's missing? Good pair of checkered pants. Okay, it's the first day of classes, and I'm 90% sure he said show up to the lectures in the full chef uniform as well as the laboratories. I'm really hoping I heard that right, because otherwise this is gonna kind of suck. Okay, so you may notice at the moment that I'm slightly disheveled, but more importantly, dressed in business attire. And the reason for both is I just came back from my first orientation to the hospitality industry class. And to be honest, it's completely changed my expectations of college. My two classes today were Culinary 100, the basics and fundamentals of the culinary industry. My second was an orientation to hospitality, which is what it sounds like. It's an orientation to the hospitality industry. Now, the reason both of these changed my expectations so much is largely because both of them had me in a certain dress. Culinary 100 had me dressed up in my full chef whites. And at first thought, this seemed like an odd addition, considering how we wouldn't actually be cooking. It seemed weird to have us in uniform. But once I got to the class, I sort of began to understand why. Because, as I noted earlier, I felt silly in my chef uniform. Sort of like a kid in their grown-up's clothing. But after a while, I realized it really shouldn't feel like that. The chef uniform is what I'm supposed to wear for the rest of my life. It's my work uniform. It's what I'm supposed to be prepared to live in. I should know how to wear it without looking like a kid in their parents' clothing. I'm coming to college to try and become a chef. I should look and feel like a chef. I mean, not at this moment, but I should be prepared for it. And just a couple hours ago, when I was preparing for my orientation to the hospitality industry class, I realized that how I felt silly in a suit, how I walked uncomfortably, how I behaved uncomfortably, because I was uncomfortable. I also began to realize how uncomfortable I am living on my own, or behaving on my own, or eating what I want and when. And I realized the reason for this all. It's because I'm still thinking of myself as a child, and I'm not. I'm going to be turning 18 this October. I will be, by legal and societal standards, an adult. And while a young and unexperienced adult, an adult nonetheless. When I realized the point to wearing a suit or chef whites, I have to start thinking of myself as an adult looking for a career and not as a student. I have to start being comfortable in a suit and in professional attire. I have to stop thinking of myself as a child in adult's clothing and start thinking of myself as an adult. And I think because I've come to understand this, it has changed my expectations for college. This isn't a place to prolong your childhood to avoid the adult world. It's just an easy ramp into it. So I guess at this point my expectations for college is for it to be a place where I make my transition into adulthood. Okay, so seriously, it's laundry day, which you may have been able to tell from my clothing or my Facebook Rambo picture. I only have one class on Thursday, so this is really my sort of free day. But I've had my first genuinely scary college experience. Today's laundry day. That's not a bad experience, by the way. That'd be kind of a lame bad experience. So being an internet geek, instead of calling my mother, I googled how to do laundry. So I found out, I got my detergent, and I did it. So I was doing my laundry, and after my clothing had come out of the washer, and my clothing had finished washing, it was ready to go into the dryer. So luckily, some of his laundry had finished drying about 5 minutes before mine completed washing. So I was sitting there waiting for the person whose clothing was to come back. About 20 minutes later, no one showed up. And other people were coming in and they needed to use the laundry, but there weren't any washers there. So I figured I kind of had to move mine into a dryer. Because I didn't know whether or not the person would be another 5 minutes or another 3 hours because they had gone to class. So I was sitting there thinking, what should I do? So I asked somebody else what they thought I should do, and they said, well, I just plop it on the table. So that's what I did. And I remember when I was a kid, I would go to the laundromat with my mother, and I'd seen people take clothing out of a dryer and, just put it on top of the dryer. And they'd put their stuff in. It was never a deal. But I wasn't really sure, because I thought maybe they'll come back in another 5 minutes, and I waited another 5 minutes, and they didn't come back. So I put it all down on the table, and then I put all my clothing into the dryer. And it did feel a little bad. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. But then I thought, no, it's been 25 minutes. I've waited forever. I don't know when they're coming back. They can't just leave it in there all day and expect people to not use the laundromat. The entire thing can't shut down for one person. I mean, I'd seen people do this 100 times in laundromats when I was a kid, and everyone was always okay with it. So right after I put all my stuff in the dryer, I went to my room to write the apology note. So after I had finished explaining my situation and writing twice that I was sorry, I headed to the laundry room to put it on the pile of clothing. As I left my door, a couple doors down, I saw some girl with a big basket of laundry, looking very pissed and telling the person inside, yeah, some bitch just took all my stuff out of the dryer and put it on the table because I wasn't there in time. I'm not going to use the tone she did because the walls here are paper thin, but long story short, she wasn't okay with it. So naturally, I just sort of turned away and folded up the note. So I ripped up the note and I just kind of walked around for a while to make it look like I wasn't going to the laundry room. So after all this, I go back to my room to wait, and come back out about 20 minutes before the cycle is done to check on it. And when I get there, I see a pair of my half-dried underwear on the table, and a note on the dryer. Yeah. The problem is, I don't know if she knows it was me, and if throwing underwear around is how she reacts to this, I'm not sure how she'll react to other stuff. So I guess that's the main reason I chose to update today. Because it really has changed my expectations of college. I guess it just sort of reminds you. Though we're growing into adults, we can still be pretty childish. Don't forget to be awesome. I'm Julia, and I hope this has given you a fresh perspective.